Photography, the rules of composition. Hello and welcome to Videojug. If you want to ensure all your photos look great, one of the first things you need to learn is proper composition. Put simply, composition is the art of making things look right. The visual language used is ancient, and its principles can be seen in everything from classical architecture to blockbuster movies. There are 5 basic rules to keep in mind when lining up or editing your photograph. But once you understand the principles involved, you'll find that you start following them instinctively. Step 1. Keep it simple. Nothing will dilute the impact of your pictures more than clutter. Have a look at this picture. What is it of? Our eye is certainly drawn to the fountain, but the clutter around it is distracting. Think about what your picture is of, and then change your position or reposition your shot to make that the most prominent part of the picture. If necessary, get closer to your subject so it fills the frame and dominates what's around it. Notice how in films and television, the most emotional moments of the story are mostly shot in close-up, as visual proximity to a human face instinctively makes us feel closer to that person. This is a tool you can use to not only effectively frame your picture, but also lend it more emotional prominence, particularly if you're photographing people. Step 2. The rule of thirds. Although simplicity is important, simply centering your subject in the center of the frame gives a very static, formal look to the picture. While this may be fine for certain subjects, you'll usually want to add more dynamism to your pictures. Imagine your rectangular frame is divided into thirds, both vertically and horizontally. Where these sections intersect are the optimum places for placing the focus of your picture to compose a pleasing image. Which intersection you choose to place the important part of your picture on is up to you, but realize that if you're shooting a moving object, it helps to give them room to move in the picture, which means putting more space in front of them than behind. Naturally, this rule can be subverted to create a narrative. In this case, the impression that they're soon to come to a halt or walk out of the picture. Vertical lines such as lampposts and trees, and horizontals like the horizon, should also be placed on the divisions of the thirds, rather than in the centre of the picture. Step 3. Balance. Balance is a hard concept to explain. Basically, it's about preventing an image looking lopsided. This can mean balancing a picture of one person by including another incidental character, or framing the shot so the focus of your picture is balanced by another complementary object. You'll just have to judge what feels right in the image. Where you have a concentration of colour, objects or light on one side of the picture, try and put a contrasting or complementary setup on the opposite side of the picture to balance it out. Deliberate unbalance gives the impression of movement, like the train that's just nipped past this sign. Step 4. Framing. Framing is the art of placing a person or object in the foreground of your subject to give depth and add interest. Consider using part of the surroundings if you're photographing a person, or placing people in a landscape photo to give it a sense of scale. Step 5. Lines. Finally, think about any lines that are formed in your picture. Try and use them to lead the viewer to the picture. Let's say you've placed the subject of your picture on the junction of a third. Try and use any lines formed by the surroundings to point towards or lead the eye of the viewer to this point. Also consider that straight horizontal or vertical lines produce a sense of stillness in a picture, in a similar fashion to central framing. So for more exciting images, try and introduce more diagonals into your image. While tilting the camera may not be an option, repositioning yourself in relation to what you're photographing may work. Also bear in mind that curved lines, especially those that curve twice to form an S, are generally more aesthetically pleasing than those that are straight. Don't forget, you can subvert any or all of these rules for narrative or artistic reasons, so feel free to play around. But you can't break the rules unless you know what they are. Done.